Welcome to the red half of Sheffield preview pod, the Steel City Derby, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Sheff United, Sheff Wednesday. The rivalry to end all rivalries in England. I'm joined today by James from the Wait Till I forgot the rest of the Wednesday Till I Die podcast. Excuse me. James, how are you? Here to preview Sheff United and Sheff Wednesday.
Yeah, Chad, thanks for having me on, mate. I think you did that on purpose, didn't you? Given the rivalry and everything else, just to make fun of us and everything else like that. So yeah, but no, I'm delighted to be joined. It's going to be one hell of a game next Sunday, and I for one cannot wait. I've been waiting a long time for this fixture to roll around, and we haven't got long to wait now.
Yeah, it's a rivalry that has gone a few years without happening. Obviously, the everybody, oh my God, behind the gap, we're up here, you're down there, all that bullshit. Now we're in the same division. Honestly, I think we're probably about level pegging in the two sides. How have Sheff Wednesday got on? Everybody saw the resounding 4-0 victory on opening weekend against Plymouth and so on and so forth. How have Wednesday got on since then?
Yeah, I think it's been a mixed bag. I think is the best way to call it. That win against Plymouth on the opening day of the season, not going to lie, I think most Wednesday fans thought this was going to be a pretty easy season. Pre-season went pretty well. Played against some top teams. All right, didn't beat them, but certainly gave a good account of herself. And the football we were playing was great under Danny Röhl. And you carry that into the first game of the season. I know people were saying, yes, it's against Plymouth. They're not a great side, but you can only beat who's in front of you, and it was a resounding win. However, since then, 3 defeats: Sunderland, Leeds, then Millwall. I must admit the Millwall defeat was the one that hurt the most. You can kind of take Sunderland and Leeds, to be perfectly honest. I don't think beating them, they're not our battle this season. However, a Millwall, albeit away, is a team that we need to be beating, and we didn't score a goal in those 3 games: 4-0, 2-0, and 3-0. It just wasn't good enough. And since then, Danny's kind of changed the style of play, changed his approach, changed the formation as well. We've gone back to what we were doing at the back end of last season, which is playing with 3 centre-backs, with wing-backs, which I don't think is the way that Danny wants to play. He wants to play kind of a 4-2-3-1 formation. Whereas, we're seeing more joy with those 3 centre-halves. And since then, the performance has been a lot better. The results didn't come straight away. We threw away a lead against QPR. I said threw away. We scored a goal in injury time, only to concede a goal even later, which I'm sure was to the delight of yourselves seeing that. Then we get a red card against Luton when we're leading, and we lose that game 2-1, which would have been that's kind of 5 points thrown away in those 2 games. Then we beat. This is how we are this season, and I'm sure you'll resonate with this as well. But then West Brom come to Hillsborough, having not unbeaten all season, top of the league, and we beat them 3-2. That's just how football is, and I think this season we've beaten the teams that we kind of expected to beat. And then we've lost against the teams that we've expected to lose against, other than West Brom, which I think is the only side that's been in the top 6, and not only this season but under Danny Röhl, that we've actually beaten. So, which I'm sure you'll take a lot of promise from. And then we go most recently to what happened against Watford, and. Yeah. I've never seen a collapse like it since England in the Ashes in '97 against Australia. It was a monumental collapse in the second half, and not what you want with this game coming up on the horizon.
Yeah, that's obviously everybody's how many did Wednesday lose? 6. Okay, we understand they conceded 6 goals. I completely understand that. what happened? What happened? Like, I mean, if I want to dig a little bit deeper, like, what happened?
Chad, at 1-1 at half time, I was there yesterday. I thought that there was only one team that was going to win that, and they weren't playing in yellow. I'll put it that way. We were on top. We started the game strong. They got a goal probably against the run of play, although they was coming into it a little bit. We then got back to 1-1, and to be honest, as the first half went on, the half time probably came at a wrong time. I know that's a funny thing to say, but if we'd have carried on, we were on the ascendancy. We were having a lot of pressure. It was only a matter of time until we scored. And then, we just came out in that second half, and I don't know what Danny said to him, but whatever he did say, I didn't want to say ever again, because they came out a different side, and not in a good way. I think Watford changed their approach a little bit. I think Watford also played not how they'd played in the previous games. They'd lost 5 consecutive games away from home, and lo and behold, Charity FC roll into town, and we just gift them an away win. But they went more direct. They weren't passing out from the back, which when I did this show with the Watford fan, he said that's the reason. I said, do you play differently away from home? He said, no, we play exactly the same home and away, which is playing out from the back, very methodical. They didn't do that at all. So whether that caught us off guard, a lot of balls, over the top, which were giving them a lot of joy. And I mean, look, when you give 2 penalties away inside 5 minutes in the second half, that's never going to be, never going to be good. Of course, they converted both of them, and we were 3-1 down. And yeah, do you know what? We've just been talking on our pod, and the players, there was an element of players giving up, albeit when the 5th and 6th goals go in, which I've been on the receiving end of big heavy defeats when you're playing 5-a-side football, and it's not nice. But when there's 20,000 fans in the ground, albeit most had left come at that point, which I don't blame them, but still, you've got to put the effort in. You've got to see that you do care. I'm sure they do care, but it didn't come across like that, and it is very worrying. Again, I keep saying it. This game's coming up. It's going to be upon us sooner rather than later, and it's just not what we want heading into that game.
Yeah. Obviously, we're recording this before the midweek fixture, but yeah, it was a little bit of a head-scratching defeat. And I'm going to ask you this question. Do you see that, we're 13 games into the season. Do you see that there's in a sense, there's a divide in this league to where there's the money spenders? I wouldn't consider us money spenders because we haven't spent much on players. And then you have almost like the middle of the pack, and then you have absolute ass of this division. This is my perspective on the division, because you look at our record and we've beat teams that are probably average to below average in this league, but then when we face Leeds and Middlesbrough, not a sniff. And that's why I still think we're just a bang average side. I don't think we're, oh my God, Sheffield United, we're going to go up automatic 500 points and we're going to, piss the league and all this. Do you think that, are you in agreement, there's almost a 3-tiered league in this league in a sense?
Yeah, in a way, I think you're right. That there's a lot of teams that have spent a lot of money. I think Burnley has spent 50 million. I think Leeds have spent even more than that this season. But they have sold a lot of players as well. I think that's the big thing. It's that turnover of players. Those that have spent a lot of money, like I said, have had to sell some of their assets in order to do that. I think. Whilst you yourselves haven't spent a lot, I think when you look at, it's not necessarily the money that's spent. I think you've got to look at the value of the players.
Mm-hmm.
You have got some decent players and signed some decent players from this league. You look at O'Hare is one of them. I know he's not really firing on all cylinders for you at the moment, but it was one of Coventry's best player. You've taken that from them. That's made them weaker. They're struggling now this season, and obviously he's one of your players that you've got at your disposal. I think the difference is we don't sell players. We don't move players on. We don't bring any money in. Therefore, we're struggling when it comes to spending money as well. I had the same view of yourself, but then when I looked into it, you look at some of the. I thought it would be those that spent money would be at the top, and those that haven't spent money would be at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Luton have spent money, and they're doing worse than what we are this season so far.
Yeah, no
so
kidding.
it's not as cut and dry as that one. But I do feel like in order to be able to compete up at the top, you've just come out of the Premier League, so that does help. Your squad is already, as much as how bad you did last season, it is still good enough to compete at this league. In order for clubs like ourselves and those that are mid to low end championship clubs, in order for them to compete, you have got to spend a lot of money, and you've got to get it right as well. Like teams that have come down from the Prem will get a lot of help with the parachute payments and things like that. That helps them. Teams like us, like I've just said, have either got to spend money or they've got to move players on. Ipswich did it a perfect storm last season. They've gone up and up out of the leagues, and they're now finding it difficult in the Premier League. So yeah, it is tough. This league is tough. There's a lot of money involved in it, and you've got to be spending it to get up there, and we can't even pay his tax bill, Chad.
Okay. Sunday, lunchtime kickoff, early, so everybody doesn't get drunk and beat the hell out of each other for no senseless reason. It's a rivalry. They're going to beat the hell out of each other regardless. It doesn't matter what time it is. You could have it at 8 p.m. on a Saturday. You could play it at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday or Saturday. They'll still beat the hell out of each other. How does this one unfold?
We've just been talking about this again, and I honestly have no idea. They say form goes out of the window, and I think it does to a certain extent. However, form does help. I'd rather be in your shoes than ours. I'd rather be 8 wins and only 2 defeats rather than the 4 wins that we've had so far this season. And I'd rather be going into it having not been beaten 6-2 either the previous weekend. Do you know what? Initially, I was thinking we've got to go into you from the off. The first 5 or 10 minutes need to be high tempo, big tackles flying in, and really get the crowd going. However, having said that, I don't think we need to have big tackles for that away end to be bouncing. We'll be singing, for the full 90 minutes. We'll be singing, 30 minutes before kickoff. We'll be creating the noise. I'm sure you boys will be creating the noise as well in that home end. That's the atmosphere will be absolutely electric. I'm now, having spoken to a few Unitedites, they're saying that if we do play like that, that'll probably play into your hands. That's how you've played this season. You've not really had much of the ball in terms of possession, but you've just been clinical when you have had it, and you've just attacked with a purpose. I'm now kind of thinking, would the better thing to be to do, like, sit back a little bit, let you have the ball, frustrate you, let you pass the ball across the defence, not do a great deal with it, and try to silence the fans. Like I said, we'll be. It won't matter to us in that away end if we have 5 touches in the opening 15-20 minutes. We don't really care, as long as that score's still 0-0.
Yeah.
And the longer that the game is 0-0, it'll play more into our hands. We have got players that can obviously I don't know who's going to start, but we have got impact players with a bit of pace. Like we've got Anthony Masaba, we've got Jedi Gassama. They are a little bit speedboat, no driver, not going to lie. But in a game like this, if you can bring them off the bench after 60, 70 minutes, if the game's still in the balance, then I think that could really help us. So yeah, I think the what I want to see, really, as much as it would be frustrating and annoying, is to let you have the ball, see what you can do with it. I think you've probably shown that when you do have the ball, you do struggle a little bit to try and break teams down. The flip side of that is we concede goals. We're coming up against a side that doesn't concede goals, and we concede a hell of a lot. There's only one team I think there's two teams in the league in Plymouth and Portsmouth that have conceded more goals than us. We've conceded a full 18 goals more than yourselves. So it's all right me saying let's be resolute and try and keep it tight at the back. We haven't done that all season. So, I really don't know how this one's going to pan out. I just know it's going to be a fantastic atmosphere, and I'll be shitting my pants for the full 90 minutes and for the days that lead up to it as well.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call. I could do the snarky one, but it's gonna finish 4-2 and all that bullshit. I think it's gonna be 1-1. To be honest with you, I think it's just gonna be we're not very good, and you'll get one. I don't know, but
look, anything can happen, Chad. Anything can happen in the derby.
Exactly. Exactly.
Nothing has happened in the last three. I think, in terms of a score prediction, I think you're probably right. I said 1-1 on our podcast. I think that if I'm going with my heart, I can see Marcus Tudgay scoring that absolute wonder goal and beating you 2-1. I can see something like that happening, and that's obviously maybe blue tinted glasses on. I'm not going to come on here and say that we're not going to win at the Lane. It'd be great to do that. It could kickstart our season off, and if there's one game that you're going to win all season, it is this one. Being a realist, I think it's probably going to be a 0-0 or a 1-1. Obviously we want to score at the Lane. I'll be there. I want to be celebrating our goal, whether that's to take the lead or to peg it back to 1-1 or whatever it is. I want to be celebrating a goal on Sunday, and it's going to be interesting. I think I think we'd be the happier of the two if it does end up a draw. I think you'll be all this your 1-1 win and everything else, like you said about the 0-0 draw at the Lane when we saved the penalty. But it's going to be anything can happen, and sometimes it has, sometimes it hasn't. It's been, like I said, the last three have been 0-0. It wouldn't surprise me if this was another 0-0 as well on Sunday.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Before we get out of here, James, first time on the pod, before you give all the pod and where we can follow and listen to you, I ask every opponent view that comes on here your go-to match day beverage.
My go-to,
Carling?
No, it's not a Carling. No, I'm not. I'm more of a cider drinker.
Really?
Yeah, we have in Hillsborough. It's terrible. It's really bad. We have a Cold River. I don't think you can get it anywhere other than at Hillsborough. I'm not a connoisseur when it comes to drink. As long as it's wet, I'm not really that bothered. However, like I said, I've never drank that anywhere else, and I've never even seen it in any pubs or bars or anything like that before. It's all right. Like I said, I am a cider drinker. That's my go-to. I normally have one before if you can get served. The catering at Hillsborough is awful. Literally, there could be 4 people in the queue. You're not getting served before half time finishes. It is terrible. I don't know what they're doing, but that's mine.
Before we get out of here, James, drop the pod. Where we can find you.
Yeah, it is the Wednesday Till I Die podcast. I'm sure you've all the United fans have seen it before at WTRD Pod on all the socials. Sunday night is where we record. So obviously on the night of the game, we're doing it live, 8:00 UK time. If people want to listen, I'm sure if you beat us, there might be a few tuning in to gloat and everything else. If we beat you, I don't think there'll be many tuning in whatsoever. I'll be honest.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're exactly spot on. You're exactly spot on. Albeit it's a rivalry, still give them the graces of listening to their preview pod and all that leading up to the derby. Rivalry aside, derby aside, still give them a follow, still give them a like, still listen to their pod. Most people, I'm glad to always have the opponent view on, and albeit it's Chef Wednesday. I'm glad to have you on. But yeah, for us at the Red Hat for Sheffield, at Red Sheffield on X/Twitter, me, CJarvis_13 on Twitter. If you want to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Red Hat for Sheffield, just look it up. And until the next match preview, I will leave you with Up the Blade.